My son told me not to come to his wedding. Then I saw the bride's face and froze. My name is Margaret Whitmore, and I'm 68 years old. What I'm about to tell you sounds like something from a bad soap opera, but I swear on everything I hold dear that every word of this is true. The day my only son told me not to come to his wedding was the day my world shattered into a million pieces. But what happened when I showed up anyway? That changed everything. It started on a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were always our day. Ever since Daniel was a little boy, we'd talk on Tuesday mornings. He'd call me while driving to work, and we'd chat about everything and nothing. Work drama, weekend plans, his girlfriend Sarah, normal stuff, mother and son stuff. But this Tuesday was different. The phone rang at 7:15 a.m. like always. I was making my coffee, standing in my kitchen wearing my ratty old bathrobe, when I saw his name pop up on the screen. I smiled. My Danny. My baby boy, who was now 32 years old and running his own accounting firm. Mom. His voice sounded weird, tight, like he was forcing the words out. "Good morning, sweetheart. How are you?" I said, stirring my coffee, completely unaware that my life was about to implode. "Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to not freak out." My stomach dropped. Those words, no mother wants to hear those words. I set down my coffee mug so hard it sloshed over the side. "What's wrong? Are you sick? Is Sarah okay?" No, nothing like that," he paused. "We're getting married." I actually laughed. Relief flooded through me. "Oh, Danny, that's wonderful news. I'm so happy for you both. When's the big day? We need to start planning. I know this great bakery and Mom." "Stop." His voice cut through my excitement like a knife. "You can't come." Silence. Complete, total silence. I couldn't have heard him right. "What?" "You can't come to the wedding. We've decided it's going to be a very small, intimate ceremony. Just immediate. Family. Sarah's parents, her sister, and us. That's it. I am immediate family. I'm your mother." "I know, but," he trailed off. "Look, Sarah and I have talked about this a lot. We both agree that it's better if you don't attend." "Better? Better for who?" "For everyone." I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. The coffee I'd just sipped threatened to come back up. "Daniel, what are you talking about? I'm your mother. I raised you by myself after your father died. Every sacrifice I made, every extra shift I worked, it was all for you. And now you're telling me I can't come to your wedding? Mom, please don't make this harder than it already is." "Harder for you? You're breaking my heart right now, and you're worried about this being hard for you?" I could hear him take a deep breath. The same breath he used to take before telling me he'd gotten a bad grade in school or crashed the car. The breath that meant he knew he was about to hurt me, but was going to do it anyway. "Sarah doesn't feel comfortable with you there." 4 years. I had known Sarah for 4 years. We'd had dinners together. I'd welcomed her into our family. Sure, she was a bit cold sometimes, a bit standoffish, but I'd chalked it up to shyness. Some people take time to warm up. I'd tried so hard to bond with her. I'd invited her to lunch. I'd sent her birthday cards. I'd asked about her work, her hobbies, her family. And now she didn't feel comfortable with me at her wedding? Why? What did I do? "It's not about what you did, it's just..." Her voice trailed off. "She thinks you're too involved in my life." "Too involved? Danny, I talk to you once a week. I see you maybe twice a month. How is that too involved? She feels like you don't respect boundaries." What boundaries have I crossed? Silence again. That horrible, suffocating silence. "Look, I don't want to get into the specifics right now. This is already hard enough. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I'm telling you this so you can process it and move on. I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. But this is my decision." "Your decision? Or Sarah's decision?" "It's our decision. We're a team now. What she wants matters to me. And what I want doesn't matter at all, apparently." That's not fair. Fair? You're uninviting your own mother from your wedding, and I'm the one being unfair? I have to go. I'm pulling into work. We can talk about this later, when you've calmed down. Don't you dare hang up on me, Daniel Christopher Whitmore. Don't you? The line went dead. I stood there in my kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, unable to move. The coffee maker beeped. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, birds sang like it was just another beautiful morning. But my world had just ended. I tried calling him back. 5 times. Each call went to voicemail. On the 5th try, I left a message. My voice cracked and broke, but I didn't care. Danny, please call me back. We need to talk about this. I love you. I just want to be there for your big day. Please don't do this. To me. He didn't call back that day, or the next day, or the day after that. For 3 days, I was a mess. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong. What had I done to make Sarah hate me so much? What had I done to make my own son choose her over me? My friend Patricia came over on Thursday with a casserole and found me still in my bathrobe, crying on the couch surrounded by photo albums. Pictures of Danny as a baby, his first birthday, his first day of school, his high school graduation. Just the 2 of us against the world after his father died when Danny was only 8. Margaret, honey, you need to pull yourself together, Patricia said, sitting next to me and taking my hand. This is horrible, I know, but starving yourself won't fix it. He won't even talk to me, Patty. My own son won't answer my calls. Then you need to respect his decision. Respect his decision to cut me out of the most important day of his life? Patricia squeezed my hand. I know it hurts, but he's an adult. He's making his own choices. Maybe this is about them wanting their independence. Young couples do that sometimes. Independence from what? I'm not some overbearing monster. I don't drop by unannounced. I don't call him 10 times a day. I've given him space since he met Sarah. Maybe too much space. What do you mean? I should have seen this coming. Sarah never liked me. I tried to ignore it, tried to win her over, but she's always been cold, dismissive, like I was beneath her somehow. And now she's convinced my son that I'm the problem. Patricia didn't have an answer for that. She just hugged me while I cried into her shoulder. On Friday, Danny finally texted me. Just a text. Not even a phone call. Mom, I need some space right now. This is hard for me too. Please try to understand. I'll call you after the wedding. After the wedding. After the one day I'd been dreaming about since he was born. The day I'd thought I'd help plan. The day I'd imagined giving a toast, dancing with my son, crying tears of joy while he married the woman he loved. And I was expected to just sit at home while it happened without me. I tried. I really tried to accept it. For a whole week, I told myself that Patricia was right. He was an adult. This was his choice. I had to respect it even though it was killing me. But then, Sunday night happened. I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 a.m. and started going through old boxes in my closet, stuff I hadn't looked at in years. And I found Daniel's baby book, the one I'd meticulously kept from the day he was born until he was 5 years old. Every milestone, every cute thing he said, every drawing he made, and tucked in the back I found the letter I'd written to him when he was 1 day old. I'd completely forgotten about it. I'd written it in the hospital room while he slept in the bassinet next to my bed. It was addressed to him on his wedding day. My hands shook as I unfolded the yellowed paper and read my own handwriting from 32 years ago. My dearest Daniel, today you are 1 day old and already you are the love of my life. I'm writing this to you as I watch you sleep, thinking about all the moments we'll share. Your first steps, your first words, your first day of school, and one day, far in the future, your wedding day. I promise you that I will always be there for every important moment. I promise to support you, guide you, and love you unconditionally no matter what. When you read this on your wedding day, know that my heart is full of joy for you. I can't wait to meet the person who makes you happy. I can't wait to welcome them into our family. I can't wait to dance with you and cry happy tears and tell embarrassing stories about you when you were little. I love you more than words can say. Love always and forever, Mom. I sat on my bedroom floor, reading and rereading that letter, and something inside me just snapped. No, this wasn't right. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was his mother. I had earned the right to be at that wedding. 32 years of sacrifice, 32 years of love. And some girl he'd known for 4 years was going to take that away from me? No. I made a decision right then and there. I was going to that wedding, invited or not. Monday morning, I called Patricia. I need your help with something. And before you try to talk me out of it, just hear me out. Oh no, Margaret, what are you planning? I'm going to the wedding. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, Margaret, honey, that's a terrible idea. I don't care. He's my son. This is his wedding. I deserve to be there. He explicitly told you not to come. He's making a mistake. Sarah is manipulating him. I can feel it in my gut. Something isn't right about this whole situation. Even if that's true, showing up uninvited is only going to make things worse. How could they possibly get worse? He's already cut me out of his life. What do I have to lose? Patricia sighed. I could hear her moving around, probably pacing her kitchen the way she always did when she was stressed. Margaret, I love you like a sister, so I'm going to say this with love. You are going to regret this. You are going to show up at that wedding, cause a scene, and push your son even further away. Or, I said, I show up and whatever spell Sarah has him under breaks when he sees his mother's face. When he remembers who raised him. When he remembers that I would never miss the most important day of his life. That's not how this works. Maybe not. But I have to try. Will you help me or not? Another long pause. Then, what do you need? I need to find out where the wedding is. Daniel wouldn't tell me, obviously, but his best friend Jason might know. And Jason's mother is in your book club. 2 days later, Patricia called me back. She'd gotten the information. The wedding was on Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Riverside Estate. A small, expensive venue about an hour outside of town. Very exclusive, very private, exactly the kind of place Sarah would choose. Thank you, Patty. Margaret, please think about this, sleep on it, maybe talk to a therapist, but please don't do anything you can't take back. I'll be fine. I just need to see him. I just need to try. The days leading up to the wedding were torture. I barely ate. I definitely didn't sleep. I kept imagining different scenarios of how it would go. Maybe Daniel would see me walk in and rush over to hug me, apologizing for everything. Maybe Sarah would understand and welcome me with open arms. Maybe this was all just a big misunderstanding. Deep down, I knew none of those things would happen. But I had to try. He was my son, my only child, my whole world. Saturday morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., even though the wedding wasn't until 2 p.m. I couldn't lie in bed anymore. I got up, made coffee, and stared at my closet for an hour, trying to decide what to wear. What does one wear to the wedding you've been banned from attending? I finally chose a simple navy blue dress. Elegant, but not attention-grabbing. I did my hair and makeup carefully. I wanted to look good, but not like I was trying too hard. I wanted Daniel to look at me and see his mom. Not some crazy woman crashing his wedding. Patricia had offered to come with me for moral support, but I'd said no. This was something I needed to do alone. If I was going to ruin my relationship with my son forever, I didn't want to drag anyone else down with me. I left my house at noon, giving myself plenty of time to get there and figure out what I was going to do once I arrived. My hands shook on the steering wheel the entire drive. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What if this was a huge mistake? What if Patricia was right, and I was about to destroy any chance I had of fixing things with Daniel? But what if I didn't go? What if I stayed home and regretted it for the rest of my life? I got to the Riverside Estate at 1:30 p.m. The place was gorgeous. Lush green lawns, elegant white buildings, a view of the river that sparkled in the afternoon sun. Exactly the kind of place Sarah would choose for her perfect wedding. I parked in the far corner of the lot, hidden behind a delivery truck. I sat there for a while, watching people arrive. Sarah's family, I assumed. Perfectly dressed, perfectly coiffed, perfectly fake smiles. The kind of people who judged you based on your shoes and your job title. At 1:45, I got out of my car. My legs felt like jelly, but I forced myself to walk toward the main building. I had no plan. No idea what I was going to do or say. I just knew I had to be there. I walked around the side of the building, trying to stay out of sight. Through a large window, I could see the ceremony space. White chairs in neat rows, flowers everywhere. An arch covered in roses at the front. It was beautiful. And then I saw him, Daniel, my baby boy, standing at the front in a sharp black tuxedo, looking nervous and excited, and so handsome it made my heart hurt. He was talking to Jason, his best man, probably making last-minute jokes to calm his nerves like he always did when he was anxious. God, I missed him. 2 weeks of not talking to him felt like 2 years. How was I supposed to go the rest of my life without him? The music started. Everyone took their seats. I should have left. I should have gotten back in my car and driven home. Instead, I moved closer to the window, pressing myself against the wall where I could see but hopefully not be seen. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle first. 3 women I didn't recognize. Sarah's friends, obviously. Then came her sister, the maid of honor, looking smug and superior in her lavender dress. And then the music changed. The wedding march. Everyone stood. And Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle. She looked beautiful. Of course, she did. Her dress was stunning, something that probably cost more than my car. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale. But that's not what made me freeze. As Sarah walked down the aisle, I finally got a clear view of her face. A face I was seeing clearly for the first time, without the armor of fake smiles and cold politeness. A face that should have looked happy and radiant on her wedding day. Instead, I saw something in her expression that sent ice through my veins. Calculation, triumph, satisfaction. She wasn't looking at Daniel with love. She was looking at him like he was a prize she'd won. Like he was a box she was checking off on some master plan. And in that moment, I knew. I knew with absolute certainty that Patricia had been right about one thing. Sarah had manipulated my son. This whole thing, keeping me away from the wedding, it wasn't about boundaries or independence. It was about control. She was systematically cutting him off from everyone who might question her, starting with me. I watched Daniel's face as Sarah reached the altar. He was smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes. There was something off about his expression. Resignation, maybe? Like he was going through with something he wasn't entirely sure about? The ceremony began. I couldn't hear what the officiant was saying through the glass, but I could see everything. Sarah took Daniel's hands. They faced each other. The officiant spoke. I should have left. I should have walked away right then, but my feet wouldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, watching my son marry a woman who I was now convinced didn't truly love him. Then something happened that changed everything. Sarah's phone, which must have been tucked into her dress or held by her sister, started buzzing. Loudly. The maid of honor pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and her face went completely white. She leaned over and whispered something to Sarah. Sarah's perfect composure cracked for just a second. I saw panic flash across her face before she smoothed it back into a smile. She shook her head slightly at her sister and turned back to Daniel. But Daniel had seen it too. I watched him lean in and ask her something. She shook her head, dismissing it, but he asked again, more insistently. The sister, looking absolutely terrified now, said something to both of them. Sarah's face went from panic to fury in a heartbeat. She grabbed the phone from her sister's hand. And that's when everything exploded. I couldn't hear what was happening, but I could see it. Sarah stared at the phone, her face going from red to white to red again. Daniel asked her something. She shook her head violently. He asked again, reaching for the phone. She yanked it away. They were arguing. At the altar. On their wedding day. In front of everyone. Daniel grabbed the phone from her hand. I watched him read whatever was on the screen. His face went through so many expressions so fast. Confusion, disbelief, hurt, and finally, rage. He said something to Sarah. She started crying, shaking her head, reaching for him. He stepped back. Away from her. Away from the altar. He turned and looked at the guests. He was shouting now. I could see his mouth moving, his hands gesturing wildly. The guests were standing up, confused and shocked. And then Daniel looked toward the window, toward me. Our eyes met. I don't know how he saw me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just looking in that direction. But for 1 second, our eyes locked, and I saw my little boy. Not the man who'd shut me out. Not the stranger who'd uninvited me to his wedding. I saw my Danny, and he looked lost and hurt and desperate. He ran, right out of the ceremony space. Sarah tried to follow him, but her dress caught on one of the chairs, and she stumbled. Her sister and mother rushed to help her. The whole place erupted into chaos, and I did the only thing I could think of. I ran after my son. I found him outside, in a small garden area behind the main building. He was pacing back and forth, his hands in his hair, looking like he was on the verge of a complete breakdown. Danny. He spun around. When he saw me, he didn't look angry or surprised. He just looked broken. Mom? What are you? You're not supposed to be here. I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't stay away. But Danny, what happened in there? He laughed. A horrible, bitter sound. You want to know what happened? You want to know why I just walked out on my own wedding? He held up Sarah's phone, his hand shaking. This is what happened. A text message from some guy named Brad, wishing her luck on her fake wedding and promising to see her for their real honeymoon next week. What? She's engaged to someone else, Mom. Has been for 2 years, longer than she's been with me. This whole thing, me, the relationship, the wedding, it was all fake. She was using me. Using you for what? He sank down onto a bench, his head in his hands. Money, status. I don't even know. The text spelled it all out. How this Brad guy is her real fiancé. How I was just the backup plan because he wasn't ready to settle down yet. How she was going to divorce me in a year after she'd established enough financial security. Oh, Danny, the worst part? She was probably going to go through with it. If that text hadn't come through at that exact moment, I would be married to her right now. I would have spent years with someone who was just using me. And you knew, didn't you? That's why she didn't want you at the wedding. Because you would have seen through her. You would have stopped this. I sat down next to him and pulled him into a hug like I used to when he was little and had a nightmare. He didn't resist. He just collapsed against me and cried like his heart was breaking. Because it was. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. You tried to tell me. You tried to warn me that something was wrong. And I shut you out. I chose her over you. I told my own mother she couldn't come to my wedding because some manipulative liar convinced me you were the problem. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have trusted my gut. I should have trusted you. We sat there for a long time, him crying on my shoulder while I rubbed his back and whispered reassurances like I did when he was a child. Through the window, I could see people starting to leave the ceremony space. Sarah's family looked furious. Jason and a few of Daniel's other friends were searching for him. We need to get you out of here, I said finally. Where am I supposed to go? I can't go back to the apartment. She's been living there. Her stuff is everywhere. I can't. You're coming home with me. Mom, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. You're coming home. We'll figure everything else out later. He nodded, not arguing. He looked exhausted, completely drained. We snuck around to the parking lot, avoiding the main entrance where people were spilling out. My car was still hidden behind the delivery truck. We got in and I started driving, not saying anything, just letting him process. We were about 10 minutes down the road when he spoke. Again. She made me cut you out, you know. It wasn't just the wedding. For months, she'd been telling me you were toxic, that you were trying to control my life, that healthy adults need to set boundaries with overbearing parents. And I believed her. I actually believed that you were the problem. Emotional manipulation is insidious like that. It creeps in slowly until you don't even realize it's happening. She isolated me from everyone, not just you, my friends too. Jason tried to tell me something was off about her, and I stopped hanging out with him because she said he was jealous of our happiness. My work friends, same thing. She'd find something wrong with every single person in my life except her own friends and family. That's classic abuser behavior, honey. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were in love. Or you thought you were. She knew exactly what buttons to push. How did you know something was wrong? I didn't, not for sure. But a mother knows her child, and you weren't yourself anymore. Every time we talked, you sounded different, strained, like you were reading from a script. And the fact that she convinced you to uninvite your own mother to your wedding, that was the final red flag that something was seriously wrong. He started crying again, silent tears running down his face. I reached over and squeezed his hand. We'll get through this, baby. One day at a time. How? How do I come back from this? I was going to marry her. I almost married her. What does that say about my judgment? How do I ever trust anyone again? Right now, you don't worry about any of that. Right now, you just focus on healing. The rest will come in time. We drove the rest of the way in silence. When we got to my house, the house he'd grown up in, he walked straight to his old bedroom. I'd kept it exactly the same. His old posters on the walls, his high school trophies on the shelf, his bed with the blue comforter. He stood in the doorway, looking at it all. I haven't been in this room in 2 years. I know. Why did you keep it like this? Because you're always welcome here, no matter what. This is your home. It always will be. He turned to me, fresh tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry for everything. For shutting you out. For hurting you. For believing her lies about you. I'm sorry. I pulled him into another hug. You're forgiven. You will always be forgiven. That's what mothers do. That night, Daniel slept in his old room for the first time in years. I stayed up late, sitting in the kitchen, thinking about everything that had happened. My phone kept buzzing with calls and texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Sarah's. Family, probably. Or Sarah herself. I turned it off. The next morning, Daniel came downstairs, looking a bit better. Still devastated, still hurt, but not as broken as he'd been the day before. I need to go get my stuff from the apartment, he said. I can't stay there anymore, but I have clothes, documents, my laptop, everything. I'll come with you. We drove to his apartment, the one he'd shared with Sarah. I'd only been there a handful of times. Sarah had always made excuses for why I couldn't visit. Too busy. Place is a mess. We're renovating. I should have known something was wrong then. The apartment was empty. Sarah had cleared out everything that was hers. Clothes, furniture, decorations, even some of the kitchen stuff. She'd left his things but taken anything they'd supposedly bought together, including the TV, the couch, and for some reason, all the towels. She sure didn't waste any time, Daniel said bitterly, looking at the half-empty living room. Did you pay for this? Furniture? Most of it, yeah. She said she'd pay me back once we were married and had joint accounts. I bet she did. We spent 2 hours packing up his belongings. Clothes, books, his computer, important documents. He kept pausing to stare at things. A picture frame that used to have a photo of them but now sat empty. A drawer where she'd kept her jewelry. Evidence of a life that had turned out to be completely fake. As we were loading the last box into my car, his phone rang. It was Jason. Hey man. Yeah. I'm okay. I'm with my mom. Can we meet up later? I'll explain everything. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop that afternoon. I dropped Daniel off and told him to call me when he was ready to be picked up. I wasn't going to hover, but I also wasn't going to let him out of my sight for long. Not when he was this vulnerable. While he was with Jason, I went home and started preparing his old room properly. Fresh sheets, clean towels. I emptied out the closet that had been storing my Christmas decorations to make room for his clothes. This wasn't going to be a temporary thing. He was going to need time to heal, and I was going to make sure he had a safe place to do it. Patricia called me that afternoon. Margaret, oh my God, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Is Daniel okay? How did you hear? Honey, it's all over town. Sarah's family is telling everyone that Daniel got cold feet and abandoned her at the altar, that he humiliated her in front of everyone. They're making him out to be the villain. Of course they are. You need to tell people what really happened. You need to defend him. I will. But right now, he needs his mother, not a PR manager. The truth will come out eventually. It always does. Over the next few weeks, the truth did come out. Brad, the mystery man from the text, was apparently Sarah's ex-boyfriend from college. They'd been on and off for years. He'd broken up with her right before she met Daniel. She'd started dating Daniel as a way to make Brad jealous. But it had evolved into something more calculated when she realized Daniel had money and stability. Brad had gotten the wedding date wrong. He'd thought it was the following week. His congratulatory text coming through during the actual ceremony was just catastrophically bad timing. For Sarah, anyway. For Daniel, it was a blessing in disguise. As more people learned the truth, the narrative around town changed. Sarah's family tried to control the story, but too many people had seen the text. Jason had even taken a photo of it before Sarah's sister had tried to delete everything. The evidence was undeniable. Sarah herself disappeared, moved to another state, according to rumors. I didn't care where she went, as long as she stayed away from my son. Daniel struggled. There were days he could barely get out of bed. Days when he'd cry over the fact that someone he'd loved had betrayed him so completely. Days when he'd rage about all the time he'd wasted, all the red flags he'd ignored. But slowly, very slowly, he started to heal. We talked, really talked. For the first time in years, he opened up to me about everything. How Sarah had been isolating him. How she'd twisted every interaction with me to make it seem like I was being controlling or manipulative. How she'd made him feel guilty for wanting to spend time with his own mother. I should have seen it, he said one night over dinner. The way she talked about you, it wasn't normal. She made everything into a competition, like she was jealous of our relationship. She was jealous, I said, because she knew that if you had strong relationships with people who genuinely loved you, it would be harder for her to manipulate you. I hate that she almost succeeded. But she didn't. You're here now, you're safe, and you're going to be okay. 6 months later, Daniel moved out of my house and into a new apartment. This time, one that was entirely his. He'd rebuilt his friendships with Jason and his other friends. He'd started therapy to work through the trauma of the relationship. He was doing okay. Not great, but okay. A year after the almost wedding, We were having our usual Tuesday morning phone call when he said something that made me cry. Mom, I know I say this a lot, but I really need you to hear it. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for showing up to that wedding even though I told you not to. Thank you for being there when everything fell apart. I don't know what I would have done without you. That's what mothers are for, baby. We don't give up, ever. Sarah tried to isolate me from you, but even when I pushed you away, you didn't leave. You kept fighting for me. You saved me. You saved yourself. You're the one who walked away when you saw that text. You're the one who had the strength to end it. Only because I knew I had somewhere safe to go. I knew I had you. And you always will, Danny. No matter what. No matter how old you get, or how far away you move, or how many stupid decisions you make, you will always have me. I know that now. I won't forget it again. 2 years after the wedding that never was, Daniel started dating again. This time, he was careful. He introduced me to her early. Her name was Rachel, and she was kind and warm and actually seemed interested in getting to know me. She didn't see me as competition or a threat. She understood that a man who loves his mother is a man who knows how to love, period. 3 years after the wedding that never was, Daniel proposed to Rachel. And this time, when he called to tell me, his voice was full of joy and excitement. No tension, no forced politeness. Just my son, happy and in love with someone who actually deserved him. Mom, we're getting married. And before you ask, yes, of course you're invited. More than invited. Rachel wants you to help her pick out the dress. She wants your input on everything. She says she's not just marrying me, she's marrying into our family, and that includes you. I cried happy tears that time. Real, genuine, happy tears. The wedding was beautiful. Small and intimate, like Sarah's was supposed to be, but for all the right reasons. Not to exclude people, but to celebrate with the people who mattered most. I walked Daniel down the aisle, since he didn't have a father to do it. He held my arm and whispered, "Thank you for never giving up on me." I whispered back, "I love you, baby, more than you'll ever know." Rachel's vows made me cry. She talked about how Daniel's relationship with me showed her the kind of man he was. How any man who loves his mother that much is a man worth marrying. At the reception, Daniel gave a speech. He thanked Rachel for loving him. He thanked his friends for standing by him through everything. And then he looked at me. Most importantly, I want to thank my mom. 4 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I let someone convince me that the person who loved me most in the world was the enemy. I shut out the woman who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me, who never stopped fighting for me even when I pushed her away. Mom, you showed up to a wedding you weren't invited to because you knew something was wrong. You trusted your instincts. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. And when everything fell apart, you were there to pick up the pieces. You didn't say I told you so. You didn't make me feel stupid. You just loved me. That's what mothers do, but not all mothers. You're special. You're amazing. And I am so incredibly lucky to be your son. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. I ugly cried into my napkin, while Patricia hugged me and whispered, "You did good, Mama. You did real good." Looking back now, 5 years after that phone call that shattered my world, I can finally see the whole picture clearly. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives are actually disguises for the best lessons we'll ever learn. That day, Daniel told me not to come to his wedding wasn't just about a manipulative woman trying to control my son. It was about me learning that sometimes love means fighting for people even when they push you away. It was about Daniel learning that the people who truly love you will never try to cut you off from everyone else who cares about you. The morning after Rachel and Daniel's wedding, I woke up in my own bed with a peace I hadn't felt in years. My phone had dozens of messages from the night before. Friends congratulating me. Daniel sending me a photo of him and Rachel with the caption, "Thank you for everything, Mom, I love you." But there was one message that caught me off guard. It was from a number I didn't recognize, sent at 3:47 a.m. "Mrs. Whitmore, this is Sarah. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I saw the pictures from Daniel's wedding on social media. He looks happy. Really happy. Happier than he ever looked with me. I was messed up back then. I hurt a lot of people. I hurt your son. I hurt you. I'm in therapy now, working on myself. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry." I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to write back something angry and harsh. But instead, I just wrote, "Thank you for saying that. I hope you find peace." And then I blocked the number. Not out of anger, but because that chapter was closed. Daniel had moved on. I had moved on. Sarah's healing journey was her own to walk. Patricia came over that afternoon with leftover cake from the wedding and a bottle of wine. "So," she said, settling onto my couch, "how does it feel to finally have the happy ending?" "It's not an ending," I said. "It's just a new chapter. And it's not about me having a happy ending. It's about Danny having the life he deserves. You know what I mean. After everything you went through, the heartbreak, the rejection, the fear that you'd lost your son forever. You persevered. You won. I don't know if I'd call it winning. I think I just refused to lose." Patricia raised her wine glass. "To stubborn mothers who don't give up on their babies." We clinked glasses. To stubborn mothers. Over the next year, my relationship with Daniel and Rachel grew even stronger. She really did treat me like family. She'd call me just to chat, not because she needed something or because Daniel made her, but because she genuinely wanted to talk to me. She asked for my recipes. She invited me to girls' nights with her friends. She made me feel valued and loved in a way Sarah never had. One Tuesday morning, about 6 months after the wedding, Daniel called me with news that made my heart stop. "Mom, we're pregnant," I screamed. Actually screamed so loud that my neighbor Mrs. Henderson knocked on my door to make sure I was okay. "Oh my God, Danny. Oh my God. I'm going to be a grandmother." Rachel's in her first trimester. "We wanted to wait to tell people, but we had to tell you. You're going to be grandma," I cried. Happy tears this time. So many happy tears. The pregnancy was smooth. I went to doctor's appointments with them when they wanted company. I helped Rachel paint the nursery. I bought way too many baby clothes. I was living my dream of being an involved grandmother, and this time, nobody was trying to keep me away. 8 months later, I was in the hospital delivery room when my grandson came into the world. Daniel had asked me to be there, and Rachel had insisted. She said she wanted her baby to meet his grandmother right away. When the nurse placed that tiny, perfect baby in my arms, I looked down at his little face and saw Daniel. My Danny, 33 years ago, looking up at me with those same curious eyes. "Hi, sweet boy," I whispered. "I'm your grandma. I love you so much already." They named him Robert, after Daniel's father. My late husband who never got to see his son grow up, get married, have a child of his own. But his name would live on in this beautiful new life. Daniel came over and put his arm around me while I held Robert. "Mom," he said quietly, "I want him to know you, really know you. I want him to grow up hearing stories about how amazing his grandma is, about how you never gave up on me, about how you saved me. I want him to know that family means never giving up on the people you love, no matter what." I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face. "I'm not going anywhere, baby, I promise." And I haven't. Robert is 3 years old now. He calls me Gamma, and he spends every Thursday afternoon at my house. We bake cookies, we read books, we play in the backyard. And I tell him stories about his daddy when he was little. Last week, Robert asked me a question that broke my heart in the best way possible. Gamma, why do you cry sometimes when you hug Daddy? I knelt down to his level. Because I'm just so happy, sweetie. Sometimes people cry when they're really, really happy. Were you sad before? I was sad for a little while. But now I'm the happiest I've ever been. Because of me? Because of you, and your daddy, and your mommy, and because I have a family that loves me. I love you, Gamma. I love you too, baby. So much. Daniel and Rachel are talking about having another baby. They want Robert to have a sibling, the way Daniel never did. They've already told me that when the time comes, I'll be in the delivery room again. I'll be there for every milestone, every moment, every memory. Sometimes I think about that Tuesday morning 5 years ago when Daniel called to uninvite me to his wedding. I think about how completely shattered I was, how I thought my world was ending, how I believed I'd lost my son forever. But I didn't lose him. I fought for him. And even though it hurt, even though there were moments I wasn't sure we'd ever recover, we made it through. We're stronger now than we ever were before. The other day, I was going through old boxes again, and I found that letter I'd written to Daniel when he was 1 day old, the one I'd discovered the night before, his almost wedding to Sarah. The one that had given me the courage to show up uninvited. I read it again, and this time, I didn't cry. I smiled, because every promise I'd made in that letter, I'd kept. I had been there for every important moment, or at least I'd fought to be there. I had supported him. I had guided him. I had loved him unconditionally. And on the back of that letter, I wrote a new note. This one addressed to my grandson, Robert, to be read on his 18th birthday. My dearest Robert, by the time you read this, you'll be a young man preparing to go out into the world. I want you to know a few things. First, family is everything. The people who truly love you will never try to isolate you from other people who love you. If someone in your life starts pushing away your family and friends, that's a red flag. Real love brings people together. It doesn't tear them apart. Second, trust your instincts. Your daddy learned this the hard way, but he learned it. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore that little voice in your head that warns you when something isn't right. Third, never be too proud to admit when you're wrong. Your daddy made a mistake. He pushed away people who loved him because someone manipulated him. But he owned it. He apologized. He made it right. That's what real strength looks like. Fourth, mothers know. I know that sounds silly, but we do. We see things others don't. We feel things in our gut. If your mother ever tells you she's worried about someone in your life, listen to her. Really listen. She's not trying to control you. She's trying to protect you. And finally, never give up on the people you love. Even when they push you away. Even when they hurt you. Even when it seems hopeless. If you truly love someone, you fight for them. You show up. You don't give up. I almost lost your daddy once, but I refused to accept that. I fought for him. I showed up when I wasn't wanted. And it changed everything. You are so loved, Robert. By me, by your parents, by everyone in this family. And I hope you'll carry these lessons with you as you grow. I hope you'll be the kind of man who knows how to love well and fight for the people who matter. I love you forever and always. Your Gamma. I folded the letter and tucked it away with the first one. Someday, Robert will read both of them. Someday, he'll understand the full story of what happened before he was born. And I hope it will help him navigate his own life with wisdom and love. Patricia asked me recently if I ever regret showing up to that wedding uninvited. If I ever wish I'd just stayed home and respected Daniel's wishes. Not for a single second, I told her. That moment changed everything. If I hadn't been there, if I hadn't followed my gut, Daniel might have gone through with marrying Sarah. He might have spent years trapped in that relationship before finally getting out. Or worse, he might never have gotten out at all. So you don't regret any of it? The pain, the heartbreak, the weeks of not talking to him? I regret that it happened. But I don't regret how I handled it. I did what I had to do. I fought for my son. And that's the truth of it. Being a mother isn't always about respecting boundaries and giving space. Sometimes it's about knowing when to fight, when to push back, when to show up, even when you're not wanted because you can see something they can't. Daniel and I talk about it sometimes. About that phone call, about the wedding that never was, about a moment our eyes met through that window. I saw you, he told me once. I was so lost and confused and hurt, and I looked up and saw you standing there. And for a split second, I thought I was hallucinating, that my guilt over shutting you out had made me imagine you there. But I was there, you were there, and Mom, I can't tell you what that meant. In my darkest moment, when my whole world was falling apart, you were there. You didn't say I told you so. You didn't lecture me. You just held me and told me everything would be okay. Because it would be. I knew it would be. How did you know? Because I'm your mother, and mothers always know. Last month, on a Tuesday morning, Daniel called me for our weekly chat. But this time, it wasn't just to catch up. Mom, I need your advice on something. Of course, honey. What's going on? There's a guy at my firm. Younger guy, just started a few months ago. He's really talented, but lately I've noticed some changes. He's pulling away from his friends. He's stopped coming to office lunches. And yesterday, I overheard him on the phone with his mother. He was telling her she needed to stop calling him so much. That his girlfriend thinks she's too involved in his life. I went very still. Oh? It reminded me of me. Of what I went through with Sarah. And I'm worried about him, but I don't know if it's my place to say anything. What does your gut tell you? My gut tells me that his girlfriend is doing to him what Sarah did to me, isolating him, making him push away people who care about him, but I barely know him. What if I'm wrong? What if I interfere and it backfires? I thought about it for a moment. Danny, let me ask you something. If someone had pulled you aside 4 years ago and said, "Hey, I'm worried about your relationship. I think your girlfriend might be manipulating you," would you have listened? Probably not. I would have gotten defensive and shut them down. Exactly. But what if they'd planted a seed? What if they'd just said something that made you think, even a little bit? Something that stayed in the back of your mind? You think I should talk to him. I think you should trust your gut. If you see someone going down a path you've walked before, you have a responsibility to at least try to help. He might not listen. He might get angry. But you'll know you tried. And someday, if things go badly, he'll remember that someone cared enough to warn him. 2 weeks later, Daniel called me back. Mom, I talked to him. I told him my story. About Sarah, about how she isolated me, about how I almost made the biggest mistake of my life. How did he react? He got quiet, really quiet. And then he said, "My girlfriend tells me my mom is toxic, that she's trying to control me." And I said, "That's exactly what Sarah used to say about mine." I don't know if it helped, but I could see him thinking about it. You planted the seed. That's all you can do. 3 months after that conversation, the young man from Daniel's office came to him and said thank you. He'd broken up with his girlfriend after realizing she was using the same manipulation tactics Daniel had described. He'd called his mother and apologized. He'd started rebuilding the relationships she'd tried to destroy. "Your son saved me," he told me when Daniel brought him over for dinner one night. "Just like you saved him." And that's when I realized that our story wasn't just about us. It was bigger than that. It was about the ripple effect of refusing to give up on the people we love. Daniel's story of being manipulated and saved had saved someone else, and that person would probably go on to help someone else in the future. Love isn't just about the warm, fuzzy feelings. It's about showing up, fighting, refusing to accept defeat. It's about trusting your instincts even when everyone tells you you're wrong. It's about believing that the people you love are worth fighting for, no matter what. My son told me not to come to his wedding. I came anyway, and when I saw the bride's face, when I saw that calculating, triumphant expression, I knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes, being a mother means respecting your child's boundaries, and sometimes it means knowing when those boundaries are being set by someone who doesn't have your child's best interests at heart. I don't regret a single thing. Not the heartbreak, not the sleepless nights, not the moment I pressed my face against that window and watched my son's world fall apart. Because I was there to help him pick up the pieces. And now, years later, we're both stronger for it. That's what I want you to take away from my story. If you love someone, really love them, don't give up. Trust your instincts. Fight for them when they can't fight for themselves. Show up when they tell you not to. Be there when their world falls apart. Because at the end of the day, love isn't passive. It's active. It's a choice. It's a battle. And sometimes, you have to. Be willing to fight even when the person you're fighting for doesn't want you to. I fought for my son, and I won him back. Not because I was pushy or overbearing or controlling, but because I loved him too much to let him go without a fight. If you're facing a similar situation, if someone you love is pushing you away because of someone else's influence, don't give up. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. And most importantly, keep loving them, even when they make it hard. Because love, real love, never gives up. My name is Margaret Whitmore. I'm 68 years old, and this is how I saved my son from the worst mistake of his life by crashing his wedding and refusing to walk away when he needed me most. If this story helped you, hit subscribe for more real-life stories like this one.